In Cottonwood Heights, Utah, a peaceful neighborhood framed by mountains and silence, a story unfolded that would ripple across the nation. A missing husband, a troubled marriage, a wife now accused of murder, and 3 children caught in the middle of a truth no one fully understands. This is the case of Jennifer Gledhill, a story of love, betrayal, disappearance, and a search for answers that still continues. Fade into title: The Case of Jennifer Gledhill, Husband Missing, Murder Alleged, cut to black. Pause 2 seconds. Before everything unraveled, they were a family. Jennifer Gledhill, 42 years old. Matthew Johnson, 51, a Utah National Guardsman, respected, disciplined, devoted to service and fatherhood. Show stock clip of military drills, folded flag, home life scenes. Narrator: Together, they shared a home, 3 young children. But behind closed doors, cracks were forming, deep ones. By mid-2024, their marriage was strained. Lawyers became involved, custody papers, divorce filings. A home divided not by walls, but by silence. Cut to interview style framing, interview actor voice as friend. They seemed like a normal family, but you could feel tension. Something had changed. Return to narration. On September 20th, Matthew Johnson was last seen. No one knew yet, but those would be the last normal hours before everything changed. Days passed. Matthew stopped answering calls. He didn't show up for work, something completely out of character. Concern grew, then alarm. On September 23rd, his colleagues alerted authorities. On September 28th, 8 days after he was last seen alive, Jennifer reported him missing, and that report would open a door that investigators were not prepared for. When detectives entered the master bedroom, the air carried a stillness, that heavy kind that feels like something happened recently, something significant. They scanned the room carefully, slowly, letting their eyes adjust to every detail. At first glance, nothing seemed abnormal. But crime scenes rarely speak loudly. Sometimes they whisper. When investigators pulled back the bed and swept the room with luminol and UV lights, faint stains began to glow, stains that appeared to be blood. On the carpet near the edge of the bed, splattered in patches on the bed frame, faded streaks leading toward the wall. Whoever tried to clean it had done so with effort, maybe even desperation. A bottle of bleach was later found. A mattress was missing. Sections of carpet seemed freshly scrubbed. This wasn't the footprint of an accident. It was the trace of a cleanup. The more investigators looked, the more questions began to pile up. Where was Matthew? Why so much blood? Why the bleach? Why the missing mattress? And most importantly, where was Jennifer in all of this? SFX camera shutters, evidence markers placed. Crime scene markers 3 and 4 were set down. Swabs were taken. Forensics would later confirm the blood belonged to a male. The assumption pointed toward Matthew, but still, no body, no final answer. The home was no longer just a house. It became a puzzle made of silence and stains. Every investigation has a moment, the turning point. For this case, it came when a man stepped forward, a man who claimed to be in a romantic relationship with Jennifer during the couple's separation. His statement came like a match in a room full of gasoline. He told investigators that Jennifer had confessed to him, that she said she shot Matthew while he slept, that she placed his body in a container, moved it, and buried it somewhere no one would find. The room fell silent. If what he said was true, this was no longer a missing person case. This was murder. Cold, calculated murder. But the man's words were just that. Words, claims, allegations. To hold up in court, claims need support. And so detectives dug deeper into digital footprints, messages, phone records, location data. Anything that could either confirm or destroy the story they were being told. Phones don't lie. GPS doesn't forget. Timestamps don't rely on memory. Digital forensics became the new witness. Investigators learned that Matthew's truck had been found, abandoned. Inside it, his phone sat untouched, as if someone walked away without looking back. Data showed Jennifer's phone near the truck location around the critical time frame. More searches, more signals, more digital breadcrumbs leading detectives through days of movements, calls, and messages now frozen in time. All pointing toward one conclusion detectives were afraid to say out loud. Whatever happened to Matthew, it likely happened in that house. But still, without a body, no one could say what truly happened. Was he murdered? Was he taken somewhere? Was he alive or gone forever? This uncertainty haunted the investigation. And it still does today. With collected evidence, police believed they had enough to move forward. Jennifer Gledhill was arrested. The courtroom was tense as charges were read, multiple felonies, including murder and obstruction. She stood quietly, hands clasped, listening as if each word was a stone being stacked onto her shoulders. Then she responded with 2 words: "Not guilty." The court acknowledged her plea, her trial now set, her future placed in the hands of a jury not yet seated. In that moment, everything changed, not just for Jennifer, but for the children, for Matthew's family, for a community watching closely. Some believed she was guilty, others insisted there must be more to the story. Look at the evidence, they said, but also consider the gaps. No weapon recovered, no body found, no definitive trail of how events unfolded. This case was becoming a war between evidence and absence. 3 children, young, innocent, now living between silence and speculation. A father gone, location unknown. A mother behind bars awaiting trial. Grandparents, relatives, and loved ones were suddenly cast into roles no family ever wants. Grieving without closure, defending without certainty, hoping for answers that never come. Friends describe Matthew as disciplined, kind, honorable. They say he lived with purpose, a father first, a serviceman second. Others who knew Jennifer say she was a devoted mother, a caring wife once, someone who didn't seem capable of such violence. They talk about stress, pain, emotional storms, the brutality of a failing marriage. The story has 2 faces, and no voice from the one person who could confirm the truth, Matthew himself. This question hangs like fog over every detail of this case. Search teams have combed wilderness, ground-penetrating equipment used, tips followed, areas excavated, hours spent in cold, thick brush scanning for any sign. But nothing. Not a trace of Matthew's body. It is the biggest missing piece, literally and legally. A murder conviction without a body is rare. Not impossible, but challenging. For prosecutors, his absence is a void. For the defense, it is a lifeline. For the family, it is agony. The world wants answers. The court wants proof. And justice demands truth. Jennifer sits in custody as the case progresses. She maintains her innocence. The law protects that presumption until a verdict says otherwise. A trial now awaits, a future date where evidence will be tested, witnesses examined, timelines reconstructed, technology and emotion placed on scales of justice. Prosecutors will try to prove a murder occurred, even without a body. Defense attorneys will challenge every weakness, every contradiction, every assumption. And 12 jurors, ordinary citizens, will one day decide the fate of Jennifer Gledhill. Until then, the story remains open. Not solved, not concluded, suspended in questions. This case is a maze, and the ending has not yet been reached. A husband missing, a wife accused, children separated from both, forensics hinting at violence, technology tracing movements, a confession from a lover, but no body to confirm it. Jennifer Gledhill stands not convicted, awaiting trial. The law holds her innocent unless evidence proves otherwise. And somewhere out there, answers exist. Maybe buried, maybe lost, maybe hidden in silence. Until the day a verdict is spoken, the story is paused, suspended between truth and uncertainty. Justice waits in the echo of every unanswered question. One day a courtroom will speak, but for now, the world waits. This is still an unfolding case. Until a verdict is reached, the truth remains just out of reach. This is the case of Jennifer Gledhill.